Hey guys, this is Danny Lilker from Nuclear Assault, and you're listening to That Metal Interview Podcast.
That Metal Interview.
A returning guest on That Metal Interview podcast, we have the legendary metal icon Danny Lilker of several bands that you might know and have heard of. If you don't know who Danny Lilker is, then you're not a metalhead. He was in a band by the name of Brutal Truth, Nuclear Assault, Hemlock, amongst a bunch of other awesome projects and bands. So he is here to promote a book that he is republishing, a second edition republished version of the definitive Dan Lilker bio, Perpetual Conversion, 30 years and counting in the life of metal veteran Dan Lilker. So he talks about this republishing this book, why now, and he'll answer those questions. And right now, let's listen to one of Danny's musical accomplishments with the band Brutal Truth. This is Sugar Daddy off of 2009's Evolution Through Revolution. Check it out. And there you had it, the band Brutal Truth, in which Danny Lilker was a part of twice in his career, I believe, 90 to 98, give or take, on and off, and then 2006 to 2014. So, album by the name of Evolution Through Revolution. Some of you might know Danny through Nuclear Assault, through his work of that band, or Anthrax, the first album. And he has other bands that he has been a part of, such as Exit 13. He's been a part of Extra Hot Sauce, Hemlock, Holy Moses. He recorded No Matter What's the Cause, Human Garbage, Nocturnal Hellstorm, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of bands. Of course, one of the most famous bands that you guys have heard of is SOD, Stormtroopers of Death. And he talks about that experience, this new chat that we have with Danny. But he is here to promote his republished version of the definitive Dan Lilker bio, which you guys can find and pre-order. I will include the link under this episode, whether it's streaming services or YouTube. So anyways, let's go directly to the interview with Danny Lilker, metal icon. Enjoy. The first question I ask everybody, what part of the planet are you at? What part of the world?
I am in Rochester, New York, which is kind of closer to Toronto than New York City. And, yeah, we're making this a little louder. Good tech support here. Yeah, I live in Rochester, New York. Because New York State's actually pretty big. Not as big as Texas, but pretty damn big.
Yeah.
And, it's more of the northern climate than New York City. So.
Okay, yeah, Rochester.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's where I am.
So, how's retired life so far?
Oh, it's pretty chill. I mean, it hasn't been completely inactive, but mostly, which is, you know, I mean, ironically, I actually turned 60 a couple of days ago. My birthday's October 18th.
Happy belated.
So,
yeah.
Thanks, man. And, yeah, I've intentionally kind of compared to what I was doing even like 20 years ago, you know, pretty much stopped doing almost anything at all, but that was all kind of evolved naturally. I didn't say, all right, fuck it, I'm at a certain age, I don't want to play in any bands anymore. It's just everything kind of wound down naturally, and then I just said, that's cool, because I'm, you know, content with this, and just having a nice domestic life, I guess. And it's not boring for me, because, you know, I've been there, done that, with seeing the world, and sticking around in airports and everything, so
that's cool.
I'm content. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. That's cool. It's normal. Yep.
Oh yeah.
So we'll get to your biography in a bit. How was the Anthrax tour? I'm sure you get asked this question a lot. How was that for you? How was that experience?
It's understandable people would ask, you know, considering the history I have with those guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, those shows were great. You know, it was fun. I didn't really know Joey before that, the vocalist. Obviously, I knew Scott and Charlie from SOD, and then, you know, there's Don, the guitar player, who's also a really cool dude who helped me out a lot, teaching me the stuff that I still needed to learn. But yeah, those shows were great. You know, there was 8 shows in South America, and then there was a couple of U.S. fests in Florida and Columbus, Ohio. The South American shows were in April. There was also, well, I should say Central America. Actually, the first show was in Mexico. But let's just say, you know, Latin America. And all those shows were killer. I mean, I've played down there a bunch. I went to some places I've never been before, like Costa Rica and Ecuador and El Salvador. But good old Chile and Argentina and Brazil, I knew those were going to be killers, because I had played there a bunch with other bands. And yeah, I think everything was great. It was lots of fun. And I think people enjoyed it, man. It's all over YouTube, so.
Yeah, those are crazy crowds. So the Latin American crowd's crazy for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that on YouTube,
Yeah, in Chile, they're definitely we local.
I saw somewhere, or a podcast you were on, you mentioned that you guys had a rehearsal in Mexico City with Anthrax before the tour, huh? Is this true?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, there was one rehearsal in Mexico, but I'd gotten approached about doing that about 5 or 6 weeks before that, so I had time at home to learn the stuff, And then we just did that one rehearsal because even those guys needed the rehearsal because they hadn't done anything at that point since they played like the Milwaukee Metal Fest the summer before or something. So
That's right.
they'd gone about 10 months without doing anything. So even if it had just been, even if Frank could have done the shows, they would have rehearsed regardless.
Wow, as a fan, one would love to be just a fly on the wall at that rehearsal, just to check out the details of that, the songs. That would be great for a fan. Did anybody film it, that rehearsal?
No, I don't think anybody filmed it, but it was cool, making sure I played everything right. And of course, one of my favorite moments is when I said, does anyone think my bass is too distorted? And then it was just fucking tumbleweeds. I said, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, that's one of my questions. Yeah. One of my questions is that, did you have to change your bass sound? Because you have a slightly different settings, should I say, compared to Frank, right?
Oh, definitely. He has a nice aggressive bass tone, but mine's definitely a little more distorted, having always sounded like that. And then convenient playing, grindcore and black and death metal and shit like I've done the last 20 fucking quarter century. But no, I think that Scott and Charlie had played me with SOD with that bass tone. And I'm sure they were aware that, it would sound a little different with Anthrax, but it was almost like it made it this interesting hypothetical thing for those dudes. Like, what if Danny had been in the band all this time? What would those songs sound like? And then they got to find out, I guess.
Wow, there you go. So it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
We can see it on YouTube. It's cool. I did see it. I watch you guys, and it sounds badass.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some shows maybe with better quality than others as far as audio, but if you have like a nice loud sound bar or something, I think that definitely you will hear me or how I impacted their sound, because that's really it. I don't think I'm doing anything else with those guys, so that would have been the stuff to check out.
Well, it's awesome. On behalf of the fans, thank you for doing that tour. I mean, because a lot of us wondered, just like you said, what would Anthrax sound like with you on there if you would have continued, right? So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. It was a pleasure. It was fun.
Yeah, did any song give you trouble, Danny? I guess Frank stuff, because he recorded Fistful, of course.
The only thing that was tricky sometimes was doing the backing vocals while playing the bass, but sometimes the phrasing was a little different. Like, believe it or not, like going, what is it caught in Mosh and playing the riff under it, it kind of alternates weirdly, so I had to slow the whole thing down in my brain and go, okay, you have to tap your foot here or say this on that note. And that's only because in most bands I've been in, if I'm doing backing vocals, I'm usually just screaming or shouting a couple of words, which this is not that dissimilar from. It was just more of a musical phrasing thing, where what you're saying and what you're playing are just different enough that it can fuck you up a little.
Right. It's a two-brain thing, a double brain, yeah.
But I think I got it.
Oh, yeah, of course. You're a talent, of course.
Thank you.
Do you still practice at home, Danny? Or do you just live a normal life and you put your bass away and just go on with your life?
Yeah, I just go on with my life, man. I still have all my basses and, I have an amp and a couple of guitars, so if I want to play, I can, but I was never the kind of dude who would go home and do scales and everything like that. I mean, the joke is I'm naturally talented, I don't have to, but it's almost true without the ego part of it, that, maybe I'm just lazy. I also would not warm up before shows. You'd see other dudes sitting backstage, doing scales and crap like that, and I'd be drinking a beer. So, no, I'm just lucky enough that I can just get away with it.
Wow, very cool. So let me get this right. Perpetual Conversion. This is a republished, right? Second edition?
This is the second edition, because the first one has been unavailable for like 5 years already. So we re-released it and included a couple of super up-to-date pictures in the back and a new forward by Thomas from At the Gates. There's not a lot more additional content because it's not like I was super active the last 10 years. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but anyway, maybe you're going to ask me about that. But yeah, it's the second edition.
Yeah, that's another question, but yeah. So why now? Why second edition? Why now in 2024?
Because the first one came out around my 50th birthday in 2014. So this one's coinciding with my 60th birthday because it came out this month in 2024. So it's the milestone birthday thing.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I spoke yesterday to Dave Hoffer. I went ahead and chatted with him, and he mentioned it was about a 6-year progress in the making of this. Is this correct?
The second edition? Oh, you mean the original?
The original. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because he did a superhuman job getting it all together. Because, I mean, he probably explained it to you, but I'll tell you my version of it anyway, which is really just that he would fly out from Chicago, his home, to Rochester here. He flew out a whole bunch of weekends and stayed over and just did real fucking deep interview stuff, like a very, very long interview, to get everything, just hear my story. And then we also went through a whole bunch of cool stuff like tour posters, laminates, zines, and pictures, and other stuff like that. And that was all super helpful because I would look at a tour poster and say, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember at this show up. So that would also spur memories. So for additional stories to make the book more interesting. So that helped a lot because, some of that stuff is from the 80s and it's hard to remember specifics, but then something might, like I said, brought your memory like that.
Yeah, he mentioned interviewing different artists who spoke of you, of course, and that's pretty cool. Dave Mustaine, he got some quotes from somewhere in the different. Well, you're world renowned, so who doesn't know Danny Lilker, right? That's cool.
Well, thanks. It's very flattering, but I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there who don't know me, but they wouldn't be interested in the book anyway.
Right. Yeah, like Taylor Swift fans or maybe pop fans might not know anything about Grind or any of those bands that you're a part of, right? So anyways, obviously you handpicked all these events in the book of your life, of course. Was there an event there, Danny, that maybe you decided not to share with us?
I don't think so. I don't think there was any kind of event like, I was either ashamed of or was crappy or whatever like that. I mean, I wouldn't censor the book and try to not have bad experiences in it. I mean, I think Dave asked me a bunch of stuff and we thought of all the stuff we could think of from all the history of all the stuff I did. And I don't remember specifically saying I'd rather not have that in there. I mean, sure, I was, thrown out of Anthrax 3 days before the Fistful of Metal album came out. Perhaps some people, if they're doing autobiographies, would not want that in there because it would deflate their ego or something, but I really don't care because it's part of everything that happens, as an example. But no, I don't think there was anything I purposely would have concealed from anybody for any reason.
Is there anything you would change, Danny, if you had the chance in your life? Something, maybe a regret, an event, maybe, or joining a certain band or project?
I would say not a thing, man. Everything happens for a reason. There's bands I've played in where along the way things changed and I wasn't happy doing it anymore at the end. But there are also years before that where it was very enjoyable and kind of important. So, I mean, I'm quite aware that for all the music I've done, I'm not in a fucking mansion or anything, not work, I have to have a day job, but I don't regret that because for me, the music's the most important thing and playing what you want to play. And I would never just play music I wouldn't enjoy just because it was much more lucrative. That's just not really how I'm wired. So, no, I'm content.
Right. So speaking of only music that you enjoy, Anthrax has detoured a bit since Fistful and Spreading the Disease and all that. How did you feel playing those more recent Anthrax songs, such as maybe Antisocial or Only? How did you feel up there playing, I guess, softer metal?
Well, it's not that soft live. We actually didn't play Only. That got cut out of the set. I actually enjoyed some of the songs like Keep It in the Family and In the End is actually my song they put. That album, I think that came out on some record in like the 2010s or something. I'm not completely positive. I think one of the ones with, the Kings or something. But I actually I was actually a tiny bit disappointed we weren't going to play that, because that's a very dark, brooding song. My bass tone, it made it even fucking darker. But no one's gonna get to hear that, because we did it in rehearsal in Mexico, and then for a reason I do not recall at the present moment, it was axed from the set. But I mean, I know what you mean in general. I mean, the physical metal stuff, and even the stuff in Among the Living, it was just more intense than what they went to. But Antisocial, that's just a cover song anyway. But that was fun.
Yeah, the Joe Cocker song too. It's good stuff.
Joe Jackson.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So, which is your favorite story in the book, Danny? Which is a highlight for you?
I don't know, dude. It's weird, because it encompasses so much of what I did, from just starting out in Anthrax to everything I did up to when we just stopped. We had to draw a line when we did the original book, like, all right, if we don't stop here, we'll never get the book done, so we're going to cut it off in 2012 or something. I don't know, maybe the things like the first time I went to, when I went to Brazil with Nuclear Assault in 1989, and Sepultura opened up for us. Like the first time Brutal Truth went to Japan, and we just saw how fucking crazy they were for grind, or SOD going to Europe and the comeback shows we did in the late 90s. So, I don't know, just a lot of cool stuff.
There's a bunch, right? Yeah. The first time I heard of you, the very first time I heard of Danny Lilker was with watching Headbangers Ball. And the story everybody talks about, they used a couple of SOD songs on those little segments there, and I wondered who that was. They never said who the band was, and I just found out through friends. What's the band called? SOD, and so I bought the cassette, and but then I had heard of Anthrax, Among the Living, but I never knew you were in Fistful. So and then I discovered Nuclear Assault, so I put everything together, and now I know about you since then.
Well, yeah, man. You bought the cassette, man. You're dating yourself there, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So will we see another book in the future, Danny? Maybe this new chapter of your life?
Well, I mean, I'm really not doing as much as I did. Right now, I'm really not playing in any band. That's actually why when we did the new edition of it, that we didn't bother putting a whole bunch more content in. We just went with graphics in the forward. So I don't know, man. If there's a reason, sure, but right now I think my career stands as it is, and I think it's sufficient.
I've spoken and interviewed different metal and rock artists such as yourself, and mostly everybody that I talked to from the thrash scene or death metal scene referred to you as a legend, or a metal icon, if you will. How do you feel when somebody refers to you as such?
Well, I get very honored that I would deserve any kind of compliment like that, and obviously it's very flattering. I mean, I know I have a normal ego. I know that I've been on lots of good records and written lots of good songs and been in lots of good bands and blah blah blah. And talented bass player, but it's always fucking, because I'm not like an egomaniac rock star or nothing like that, so I almost get a tiny bit embarrassed. But no, it's very flattering, and I appreciate it very much.
So where can people order or purchase this book, Danny?
I think that there is a website, perpetualconversion.com, that will take you to the company that ships all that stuff out. This would have been a better question for Dave, unfortunately, because he's on the more business side of things. But I know that if you go to perpetualconversion.com, then you will find what you need there.
Are there any new bands that have caught your ear that maybe 20 years down the road you think, or you would see them carrying the metal flag, maybe when all these original artists are older and gone? Any new bands that catch your ear?
I mean, just the slightly older, newer bands, like a band like Municipal Waste, who's not exactly spring chickens anymore, but
yeah,
they were a second wave type bands. I always use them as a great example. You know, that would be like, and they'll tell you, you know, straight up that they're, you know, heavily influenced by like Nuclear Assault and DRI. So when you hear them, it's like a kind of a great combination of both those bands. Well, I mean, since I don't really play out anymore, and when I'm home with my wife, we just kind of like watch TV, and then we'll listen to like metal when people come over and have a party or something. But then that's just the old standbys, you know, you whip out fucking Slayer or fucking Morbid Angel, or then you'll switch over to Yes or something like that. But my long answer is no, I haven't really checked out a lot of stuff lately, so I would fall back on that kind of second wave thrash stuff, like a band like Municipal Waste as an example.
So will we see you on stage anymore? Let's say Frank is out of the picture again with Anthrax. Will you take up that offer again?
I can't say right now. If something like that came up in the future, we would have to see. As far as any specifics with that, I wouldn't say absolutely not, but there would have to be a lot of logistics, certainly.
The $1 million question that fans are sad or disappointed in, or whatever you want to call it. Will we see Nuclear Assault on stage anymore? I know you guys you called it a day. You retired. Is there any small hope of that?
I would have to be realistic and burst people's bubbles here, unfortunately, and say that unfortunately not. There's zero possibility of Nuclear Assault doing anything else, and that's it's better just to say that than to give people false hope.
Right.
So, nope, sorry.
Okay, I had to ask. I had a couple of fans.
Oh, no, I understand, and I appreciate that people got the hankering, you know, and it's, like I said again, you know, it's flattering, and I'm honored that people really give a shit and everything, but in this particular case, we cannot be able to do anything. Right.
So what's next for you, Danny? Besides just having a normal life, what's on your agenda here?
Oh, I mean, there's a possibility that with a few people around town, we might jam a little bit just for fun, but it's very vague right now, so I don't want to get any more specific, but it would just be something extremely low maintenance, just a local bands, no going out on tour and doing any of that stuff. This would just be more for fun and play a couple of shows around the area.
Awesome, wow.
And besides that, not much, dude. Just relaxing and trying to age gracefully.
Awesome. So, great chat, Danny. I appreciate the information and all that. And hopefully we see you on tour soon. You know, it might not happen, but hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah, one way or another, man. So, cheers, man. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you, Danny. Take it easy.
Okay. See you, man.
Sadly enough, he does not give us any hopes for a reunion for Nuclear Assault. That is kind of sad for us fanatics, as I told him. Yeah, but I did have to ask the $1 million question there. So, awesome stories, should I say, about the Anthrax tour, and he answers a question about future plans that Mr. Lilker might have. So, anyways, we appreciate your company. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for ringing the bell, downloading on streaming services, blah blah blah. Right. So, on behalf of your friend James from the state of Texas, the planet Earth going in circles. Don't forget to keep it metal.
That Metal Interview.